This is NuMedia TV in London.
Communal and religious values of Nigeria and its people. He added that the adoption of this agreement is a subtle inclusion of LGBTQ into Nigerian reality. He cited that the treaty gives no place to parliamentarians to thoroughly examine the treaty.
Yes, hi, good evening, guys, good evening, all. Yes, good evening, everyone. Yes, I sincerely hope that I meet you guys in top form and in great spirit. Yes, it is good to be back once again this great Sunday evening, live all the way from London. Yes, I salute each and every one of you, all my avid viewers across the whole world. Yes, I salute you. Yes, I bring you all the good tidings this great Sunday afternoon. Yes, indeed. Guys, we want to dig deep again today. Today, Sunday, the very first day of the 12th month of December 2024. Your host, your favorite terrible man out there, Frank Bello. Yes, I'll be teaching out many of the sad stuff from this end of the dispatch box live in London. The time, as you can see in front of your screen, is 18:07, 7 minutes past 6 o'clock London time. I welcome each and every one of you. I'm going to acknowledge you all one by one. And what we're going to do is allow the others as well to troop in and listen very carefully to the topic of discourse this evening. This evening, what we want to talk about, or what I want to trash out, still on the same issue of Nigeria. Yes, I want to talk about Nigeria. And I'm pretty sure that a handful will agree with me that Nigeria is a painful resentment. And close to my chest, like I've done in the past, is how Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria. Did you get that? How Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria. I've used all sorts in the past as well to describe that painful resentment of that country. Anibolaji, Patricia, Ebitokemi, Don Pedro, good evening to the two of you. I'm pretty sure others will join us at some point in time. The avid ones. Yes. This is it. What we want to talk about today. How Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria. Now, a handful of you out there, and those that will join us at some point in time, will be wondering, how did Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria? I'll tell you. It is simple. I'm going to take you the process. But then and again, when we begin to look at a statement like this, Let me bring it to the front of your screen so that you can all see it. Because I've arranged all the slides perfectly well. Now, when we look at a statement that's been credited to the former South African president, in front of your screen, to which the former South African Prime Minister from 1978 to 1984, Peter William Botha. When you begin to extrapolate the statement he made in 1988 to now say that black people generally cannot rule themselves because they don't have the brain and the mental capacity to govern a society. He further said, give them, that is, give the black people guns, they will kill themselves. Give them power, they will steal all the government money. Give them independence and democracy, they will use it to promote tribalism, ethnicity, bigotry, hatred, killings, and wars. 1988. Some online and the internet will dispute that the former South African president made that statement, but when you look at it, the white race are the people controlling the media. That's why even on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and all the social media feeds, there are censors. There are things you can say and there are things you cannot say. I knew that as far back as 1995 from the London College of Printing, when I was going through my training at the time. You see, when we begin to dissect very carefully this statement, black people cannot rule themselves because they don't have the brain and mental capacity to govern a society. Give them guns, they will kill themselves. Give them power, they will steal all the government money. Give them independence and democracy, they will use it to promote tribalism, ethnicity, bigotry, hatred, killings, and wars. Now tell me, which of these have we not experienced in the contraption called Nigeria? Tell me. Have we not experienced acts of wars, looting, tribalism, hatred, name them. In the last 64 years, it has been mental torture in every nooks and crannies of a decapitated nation called Nigeria. See, the likes of me and some few other radical ones are not particularly happy. We're not. And that's why the likes of myself and a few others are rebelling against a society that refused to bring good governance to its people. When Nigeria turned 50 here in London, I was in London, under Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, millions was spent in celebrating 50 years of hopelessness. I was never a partaker of their independence, their 50 years independence anniversary, to which it was celebrated flamboyantly. I refused to partake in blood money. I consider it as being reckless, because I told our head of department, I mean our head of chancery at the time, Ambassador Ahmed Omar, and I said, there's nothing to celebrate, to showcase Nigeria's independence in 50 years. Maybe you lot want to celebrate acts of hopelessness, mental torture, and bad governance. Is that what you lot are celebrating? No, I refused to be a partaker. I repeat, if not close to £1 million was spent on it, forget it. I know. That was London alone. Reckless spending. But you see, no one is more hated. Like Plato said, no one is more hated this life than he who speaks the truth. Truth hurts. Truth hurts. And that's why a majority of them sees me as a rebel, which I don't mind. I am only doing that work that the spiritual source of all creation asked me to come into this world to carry out. See, when I begin to take stock, And when I begin to see and recap on statements made by the former head of state, Akoni Omo Ogunalakufo, thank you. When I begin to take stock and when I recap statement that General Gowon made during his period as a military junta to quench, the statement was credited to him. Now equally, Gowon is now denying the fact that he never uttered that statement that money is not Nigeria's problems but how to spend it. Daranijo Juwon, good afternoon. Yes, I haven't seen you for a while. I hope you will enjoy this stream tonight. See, I have a problem with that. Remember, the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, when he was second in command to General Gowon when he was a military head of state, Papa Obafemi Awolowo begged Gowon ruthlessly to please take the political will and educate the Nigerian children. He never listened. He never listened. Education was not the priority of many of those past leaders who ruled Nigeria the moment the first military coup truncated the already established parliamentary democracy that the British establishment handed down to our founding fathers at independence. Minus Chief Obafemi Awolowo of great memory, the rest of all those who ruled Nigeria, Chief Obafemi Awolowo was just the premier of the Western region to which up till today my own generation and perhaps the generation after me were all beneficiaries of the Awolowo free educational program. No oil at the time. Nigeria was an agricultural producing nation at the time because each and every region were controlling their resources in their given land. And each and every region were returning their taxes back to the center of government. That was why the late Obama was able to carry out many of those imaginable projects across the Western region. And that's why, up till today, many Nigerians, north, east, west, south, still refer to the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo as the president or the prime minister Nigeria never had. Just imagine the legacy of Awolowo, and up till today, going 40 years since the demise of the late sage. Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, Efik, Igbo, Ibibio, everyone are still talking about him for good. How Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria. That's exactly what we want to talk about. And who are those Nigerians? You and I. How ordinary Nigerians, commoners, colluded with rogue and parasitic, toxic politicians to underdevelop that nation. I'm going to tell you. Ajani Babatunde Benson, you're welcome to the stream. Oh yes. How Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria. Guys, if this is your first time on our channel, please don't forget to please always give us that like, love, share it. But your interactions with me is very, very important. I want you to please interact with me. I want you to comment, and I want you to tell me the way you are feeling from your end, bearing in mind that you like, you love, will allow both Facebook and YouTube algorithm to actually recommend the live stream and the video to other people. Okay, how did Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria in 64 years? I'm going to take you through memory lane. Yeah. And the reasons I am going to take you through that memory lane will subsequently lead me into why Nigeria needs to be splitted up. If they want to keep Nigeria as the British left it, as to Western region, Midwest that was carved out through constitutional reform, Eastern region, and then Northern region, into all the 4 regions, or if possible, excuse me, now that we've got 6 geopolitical zones, if the country is to be splitted up into 6 geopolitical zones or more, the political architecture is already in place. But if Nigeria fail, or President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because of greed, fail to return Nigeria back to the 1960-1963 regional formation, I'm afraid President Tinubu must realize the fact that the North are not usually comfortable anytime a Southerner becomes the head of government. So Nigeria, after 64 years of mental torture, either voluntarily we split up, or if we don't split up voluntarily in an orderly manner, I'm afraid the other side, which is by force, will happen. And splitting up voluntarily could be a better choice, but if we opt to split up by violence, that will be very, very disastrous. Let's go into the discussion, shall we, on how Nigeria, underdeveloped Nigeria, let's go back a bit so that we know exactly what we are talking about. See, when I showed people this image, Nigeria 369, the mysterious code, a lot of people perhaps do not understand this 369 mysterious code. It is only the enlightened. I've dealt with this time after time. Now, the nation called Nigeria, that our geographical expression called Nigeria, with this mysterious code 369, is held together by oil. You heard, 369. Is held together by crude oil and by the fear that the Western world will suffer a refugee crisis involving millions of Nigerian people. Yeah, you heard. Three, 6, 9. The mysterious code. wait a minute, guys. Yeah, just wait a minute. Let me. Okay. It says 2 apps are using the microphone. Okay, if you can hear me now loud and clear, please let me see your thumbs up. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Let's go back. I don't know why the microphone keeps dropping all the time. Let's go back into the audio system. Let's go back. Yeah, everything seems fine. Yeah, I think we are back now. Yes, I think I am back, and everything seems to be working perfectly well. Yes. Let me check it up here again to see that everything is working perfectly well. Yeah, I think it is now working perfectly well. Yes, we are now back once again. Now, like I was saying, the Berlin Conference provided the demarcation, the real demarcation of the entire continent of Africa. So Britain was controlling the western corner of Africa, and what happened was that the France was equally thinking of hijacking northern Nigeria, because Niger Republic and Burkina Faso, Mali, they've all been hijacked by the French. So in other words, Britain needs to stop France from invading northern Nigeria. There's a lot more to this, guys. There is a lot more than meets the eye. And what many people don't really understand is how they play those politics. How the Western world played black Africans, the politics and the division they created at the time. Now, Flora Shaw was said to have suggested the name Nigeria for the British Protectorate on the River Niger. The name Nigeria first appeared in an essay published in the Times in London on 8 January 1897. Again, 127 years ago in 2024. But in Flora Shaw's argument in favor of the name, she suggested Nigeria. Flora thought the previous name of Nigeria, called Royal Niger Company Territories. Do you understand? Royal Niger Company Territories was the name given to us. So Flora Shaw then thought that, oh, Royal Niger Company Territories was too long to be used as a name for a real estate property. So in other words, Nigeria of today former Royal Niger Company territories was an empire, a real empire estate property for the British colonial rule. Yes, I hope you guys are still hearing me nice and clear, because I don't think we have any issues or problem any longer. Please give me a thumbs up if my voice is coming out nice and clear from the mixer. I can see everything is working perfectly well. Perfect. Thank you, Wasil. Now, Nigeria, a real estate property of the British Empire. Make no mistakes. Nigeria was an empire that was controlled by the British. So Flora's suggestion was eventually chosen and imposed on the Niger area by the British government during the amalgamation in 1914 of the diverse pre-colonial nationalities under the same body. So Flora Shaw would later marry Lord Lugard, the then Governor General of Nigeria, but unfortunately their union produced no offspring, no children. I don't know whether that was a punishment by the spiritual source of all creation. Now, during that time, Flora Shaw named Nigeria. I was wondering whether it was intentional or deliberate that she named Nigeria, and all their packages in relations to 369 then came into one fold. Was Flora Shaw a Freemason? We know for a fact that Lord Frederick Lugard was a Freemason. At the time, were they conscious of the fact that the spiritual energy code they want to hover over the British Empire, were they conscious of that? Because during that same period, there were different kingdoms operating when they amalgamated Nigeria. And many of those kingdoms, such as Yoruba Kingdom, Sokoto Caliphate, all those kingdoms, they've got their major powers in their territory. And as at that time, we were far from being a nation. We were far from being a nation. And when we begin to look at that, or what many people perhaps don't see, maybe that was why the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo said in the 40s that Nigeria is just a mere geographical expression and that we were not a nation. But before that, The area now known as Nigeria, the area, that geographical space, the same 369. This same 369, now known as Nigeria, was referred to as the Slave Coast. It was referred to as the Slave Coast. If you understand, you understand. Because slavery did in fact thrive well after William Wilberforce and his people had made efforts to institute a worldwide ban of slavery. In the north, the Sokoto kingdom was busy raiding the south for slaves from the very subject it will go on to govern a country within about half a century later. The situation got so bad and out of hand that the British had to bomb Lagos to remove the then slavery-friendly Oba. Go back and do your research. So, when the British amalgamated or combined the northern and southern protectorates together, we must remember one thing, that they were combining sets of peoples that had mostly never gotten along with themselves. What usually happens? Let me ask you. What happens when two people with utterly contrasting values and cultures have to get along in the same country, even between husband and wife? If you've got different values and opinion, you never get along well. So when the contraption was molded, the Igbos were unable to get along with the Yorubas. The Yorubas were unable to get along with the Igbos and the Northerners, because our values and our cultures are completely different. You see, we can now look at the North and Southern Sudan, or if that case is too easy, let's look at Germany and Poland. In the case of Germany and Poland, remember, it took 2 world wars. The First World War and World War II, and mass deportations at the end of them, to finally resolve the situation and create 2 separate nations, Germany and Poland. You see, all efforts at making Germans and Poles coexist had failed. In fact, up till this moment that we're still talking. And again, there is this memory I equally have of the BBC interviewing some Sudanese students on the banks of the River Nile shortly before their 2006 referendum. When those Sudanese students were asked why they thought a split of Sudan would be bad, did you know exactly what they say? They said the most common response amongst them was, "We are the biggest country in Africa," the Sudanese. "We will lose that to Algeria if there is a split." That was the argument. There was no mention of a shared religion. They never mentioned religion or shared culture, because why lie? The entire Sudan is an Islamic nation. So when you look at the case of Sudan, Islam united them. They speak the same language. But they were not united despite their 40 years of coexistence. That was Sudan. You see, let me bring it back home to location 9, 369, Nigeria. Since Ibrahim Babangida moved the federal capital to Abuja, unless and otherwise you live in an urban metropolis like Abuja, what are the things most Nigerians have in common? I want someone to please tell me. What exactly have we got in common as Nigerians? Unless you live in Abuja or you live in Lagos, because Lagos is cosmopolitan, it is metropolitan. Likewise, the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. What have we got in common as Nigerians? I'm only asking. Perhaps I'll be too pleased if someone can tell me exactly what we have in common as Nigerians. Okay, let me help you. Unless you live in an urban metropolis like Abuja, the things we have in common as Nigerians, I'll tell you. The Super Eagles. Number 1. Number 2, National Electric Power Authority, NEPA. And then number 3, English language as a common colonizing language of the Nigerian people. These were the three things we've got in common as Nigerians. Language, mind you, we haven't got those in common unless you are from the Yoruba tribe. I've traveled from the farthest part of Lagos to the north, and all along throughout the western region, from Lagos to Ijebu-Ode to Ibadan to Ogbomosho to Oyo, right up to Jeba. When I speak Yoruba, I'm able to communicate with people all the way through. But the moment I crossed Jeba Bridge into Mokwa, totally different. So three things you must always remember is the common factor that makes you a Nigerian. Number one, the super eagles. Number two, NEPA. And number three, English language as a common colonizing language. And then maybe if I may add the fourth one, having the biggest population on the African continent, the biggest. We've got the biggest population on the African continent. Those are the four. Now, there is a reason why the far north of Nigeria and the southwest and the southeast come across almost as different countries. The Yorubas were meant to be, the southwest was meant to be a nation of its own. The southeast equally was meant to be one. That's why. And the north was equally meant to be one. And that's why the major reason we come across ourselves almost as different countries. We don't have much in common. The Yorubas in the southwest don't have anything in common with the Igbos of the southeast. The Yorubas of the southwest don't have anything in common with the far north. And the north, the far north, does not have anything in common with either the southwest of the Yorubas and the Igbo southeast. We don't have much in common. Stella Emerald. Good evening. We don't. You see, but because we don't have much in common, that is why you begin to see everyone that becomes the president or the head of state, they just want to steal, period. Now, you may now ask me, why hasn't Nigeria experienced a long-term conflict leading to a breakup like Yugoslavia or Sudan, despite having even more division? Why? Why hasn't Nigeria experienced in 64 years a long-term conflict leading to a breakup like Yugoslavia or Sudan, despite having even more division? Minus the Nigerian Civil War. I'm still going to go into that. Now, the answer is this. It is not because Nigerians are peace-loving people. It is not because of that. Yes, Nigerians are peace-loving people, but it is not because of that. The Yorubas are peace-loving people. The Igbos in the southwest, in the southeast, are equally peace-loving people. I'm not too sure of northern Nigeria if they are peace-loving people, because in northern Nigeria, Islam has got its grip, its hold of the Hausa Fulani people. And that was why between 1960 pre-independence and post-independence, the North prefer a feudal system of government because of the strong hold of Islam. So it is not because Nigerians are peace-loving people. Yes, there are some Hausa Fulani people that are very peace-loving people. I'm not going to deny them that. But %70 of them are very violent. So why have we not experienced a breakup or complete breakdown of the Nigerian society? It is because the powers that be did not want Nigeria to break. The breakup of Nigeria will not happen with the constant lubricating flow of the black gold, primarily resident in the southeast and the south-south, that is oil. That is why the breakup of Nigeria will not happen. The constant lubricating flow of the black gold, the crude oil. See, South Sudan and Kosovo's independence only happened because the global superpower, the United States of America, wanted it to happen. You must understand that. You see, because I knew exactly what was at stake, that was why I was advising the Yoruba separatist group, the movement, having learned from Yugoslavia, South Sudan. I was advising them on the steps that we need to take. It happened because Kosovo's independence surfaced because the global superpower, the USA, wanted it to happen. Now, let's rewind. I told you how Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria. Now, let us rewind. Ojukwu's attempt at secession during the Civil War only failed because he had both global superpowers against him. And Ojukwu knew. Did you hear that? Odumegwu Ojukwu's attempt at secession, that is breaking away the eastern region, only failed because he had both global superpowers against him, unlike Kosovo and Sudan, that's got their signature attached to it. Here is the catch. Gowon, on the other hand, got the support of both the Soviet Union, Russia. Gowon got the support of the United States of America through the United Kingdom, to whom the US then delegated that sphere of influence at the time. So Gowon was having that upper hand because the world's superpower were behind him. Even Soviet Union, Russia, colluded with the United States of America, and at the same time, Nigeria, being the British colony and empire, Britain was able to influence its own authority. Because number one, Britain was looking at the amalgamation of 1914 that is supposed to last 100 years. So breakup can never happen. Now, look at it this way. The amalgamation at the time, what the British did and the world superpower was that immediately after the Second World War in 1945, they've already started planning the events that will reshape and remold the world into the new world order. And by the time the 100 years amalgamation of Nigeria expired, we're already in the new world order and a new age. We must have moved very gradually from the Pisces age to the Aquarian age, the age of tech and information superhighway, the age of humanoids, robots, the age of artificial intelligence, the age that Information will be at each and everybody's individual fingertips. They knew. So both the Soviet Union, Russia, and the USA, through Great Britain, supported Gowon. The only country that supported Odumegwu Ojukwu during the Civil War was France. And France supported Ojukwu because of the oil in the east. Because France owns ELF, and ELF oil, they've got their interest in eastern Nigeria. There's a lot more that you see, there's a lot that many people don't really know. How Nigerians, underdeveloped Nigeria, we're still going there, but I'm just going through all these individual components so that your eyes will be opened. Helen Ubofa, you said, I'm absolutely right. Let me post. Yeah, your comment. You said, you are absolutely right. Thanks so much for the update and remain blessed in Jesus' mighty name. Thank you. And Patricia Ebitukemi, you said, very correct, 100%. And Stella Emerua, you equally said, correct. You see, not until when we understand exactly all these basics, then we'll be able to move forward. But some countries like the UK frequently hold referendums, don't forget, to decide if a particular part of the country wants a breakup. The recent referendum was Brexit. Before Brexit, there was the Scottish referendum that did not go through. Yes, perhaps the Scottish referendum is going to come in very, very soon. I'm still going to go back onto the referendum for Nigeria. Now, such a move would almost definitely result in a substantial number of secessions. So, the fear by the Nigerian leaders is that if they put up a referendum for the people to decide if they want to be one Nigeria, such a move would almost definitely result in a substantial number of secessions or separatist groups, as we see now in Nigeria. And that is why no government will do it voluntarily. Now, let us look back into the Yoruba separatist group, the Yoruba agitators. You see, other than the fact that they were killing themselves internally, internal war, this group wants to dominate. This group does not want to deal with one group, with the other group. They were all scattered in the UK. Back in Nigeria, it was a one-man show of Professor Banji, Professor Banji, rather than work together collectively to move mountains. Professor Banji Akitoye said, oh, it was him. So Yoruba Nation then became a private enterprise between all the agitators. And then this group in the UK, Shola Salako's group, stabbing Tajuddin Rahim's group, knifing in the back another group by Pastor Okebion Kosi, another group, all of them together, knifing themselves in the back. And then within the same group, there are other breakaway groups as well. And then suddenly, to make matter worse, the fraudulent Dupe Onitiri's group suddenly surfaced. And then the Yoruba nation begin to see different women prostitutes parading themselves as agitators. December 2020 and January 2021, I streamed and I accused all of them to say this is not the way to fight for a nation. And I told them they were all living in a cocoon world. Nigerian Yoruba nation, I told them it is now becoming a farce and it is not achievable, and you can never achieve a nation like this. They are all scattered. See, such a move will almost definitely result in a substantial number of secessions or separatist groups, as we know, as we see now in Nigeria. And that is why no government will do it, throw a referendum voluntarily. Then there is now a second reason for Western superpowers to avoid a breakup of Nigeria. By all means, make no mistakes. And this second one is extremely important. Immigration. If Nigeria should break up today, such a breakup will of course not be peaceful. Remember I said on the other side, through force, through violence. So such a breakup would of course not be peaceful. Should we tread the path of violence and not diplomacy? And the prospect of millions of refugees marching across the Sahel is way too daunting for the European countries in particular. Yeah. Immigration. Here's the problem. You see, that lubricant I mentioned earlier, the one paying for the Nigerian arms that keep the population subservient, will not be as lucrative in the future. That oil will not be lucrative anymore in the future. Arab sheikhs across the Middle East, they've seen the light. They know exactly where the new Aquarian age is taking the world in the new world order. And that is why you see Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and now even Saudi Arabia investing heavily in other technologies. That's why you are now beginning to see Saudi Arabia developing their tourism sector. That's why you are now seeing Saudi Arabia now building a whole new city in Saudi Arabia that is totally different from Mecca, that will be a replica of Qatar and Dubai. Because it is the future. So that people can come in and then as tourists. They've started. That lubricant that the entire northern oligarch claimed they own in southern Nigeria from the north. They are 90% of the oil blocks in Nigeria is owned by the northerners. Oil will be obsolete very soon. Now, what has the Nigerian elites done so far? What? Look around. Look around. Look around all your leaders, past and present. What have they done so far? These people continue being parasites. Parasites. Political parasites on the economy, while relying on the jackpass to secure the prospects of Nigeria's young. All the jackpass that left the country because the political parasites, they've sucked the economy to an alarming rate that Nigeria can never survive. So all the jackpass, they are the one keeping their family and their young ones, mostly, predominantly southern Nigeria, who are abroad, are the ones sustaining their loved ones back home. Here is the problem. Here is the problem. And I want you to please know. Europe is shutting its doors. I listened to the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch's speech yesterday on immigration. And that's how I came to realize that Europe is shutting its doors. There is a populist wave on the way, and believe it or not, other African countries are not immune to it. It is during this very time that Nigeria's infant mortality has massively reduced, leading to a massive population increase. And with these young guys, when these young guys get to 35 years without any decent prospects in life, while singing, the rich get richer in Nigeria. Let me assure you, all hell will break loose, and it will not be very nice. It will not be very nice. It will never be business as usual. I can foresee clearly that there will come a day in Nigeria, very, very soon. There will come a day in Nigeria when soldiers and policemen sent to quench protests by the common man will refuse to fight. Exactly, the Arab Spring is coming home. Not out of a sense of patriotism, But because they have not been treated equally well, the police and the army, they've not been treated well by the same political parasites, the elite members of the Nigerian society. Their pay or their salary has become worthless. Lots of whipping and gnashing of teeth, but this time it might just end up being worth it, because people will now have the opportunity to live in a country they actually identify with. This post from this end of the dispatch box in London has not been made out of self-hate or out of tribalism. No. It was made after some serious analysis of what nation building takes and what guarantees success or failure. So far, so good. I'll take it a step further and say that all of Africa needs to start over again and create their own boundary lines, because almost every single boundary created in Africa was carved out by France, England, Belgium, Portugal, Italy, and Germany in the 19th century for the purpose of wealth extraction, which is why Africa continues to have all these problems. See, you can clearly see how Ife Ikem Nwobodo, good evening. You can clearly see how Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria. See, I am so gobsmacked anytime I come across Gowon's statement that money is not Nigeria's problems, but how to spend it. Maybe he's regretting now, because when he was that young, in his 30s, they were not thinking about a day like this. They don't have that foresight, and that's why we are a broken nation. Thank you, Lorita Osuchuku. You said, let me post your comment. You said, I am on point. Thank you. And then Stella Emera, let's post your comment as well. You said the breakup of Nigeria is something we need the government to do something fast. Sir, in fact, you are hitting on the point. Kudos to you. It's not very easy on this platform. Stella. Broken Nigeria, 1960 to 2024. Broken Nigeria. See, completed 3 cycles of 20 years each. 1959 to 1979, 20 years. 1979 to 1999. The next 20 years of misery. 1999 to 2019. The 60 years of misery. This is the unending crisis. The unending crisis. And it is the same agony. Agony. The agony of a dysfunctional country 64 years after independence. And what do we get in those 64 years? We get something like this. Where money buys politics, and politics, money buys religion, and the person with the money at the top dictates politics and religion, and that's why he's so powerful. And that's why here the problems we've been having in those 64 years, this is a graphic picture of it. Bad leadership. That's our problem. Bad leadership. And which was why David Cameron said this in 2017. See? David Cameron said this 10 years ago, that if the total amount of money stolen from Nigeria in the last 30 years was stolen from the United Kingdom, the UK would cease to exist. Lord Cameron, former British Prime Minister, May 2017. They've seen it all. They've seen it all. They knew the consequences. They knew that these people are parasites. 64 years. Look at all the leaders. The country is still in chain. With all those leaders. See? You can clearly see. Now look at this. This is very shameful. Look at this. Classic example. 11/8/1976, 48 years ago. 999 naira 65 kobo. 999 naira 65 kobo. That's almost 1,000 naira. 48 years ago, Nigeria naira basic travel allowance exchanged for British pound sterling, 866 pounds at Barclays Bank, Kano, in Blue Arrow. And in 1980, 45 years ago, 999 naira 68 kobo, that's another 1,000 naira. Again, Nigerian naira basic travel allowance exchanged for the US dollars. Guess how much? 1,830 Yes, I think I am now back, and yes, I think I am now back. Let's see the audio. Yes, I think I am back. Yes, that's it. Yes, we are back. Yes, so guys, sorry about that. It's just a little bit of technical hiccups, like I was saying. You can clearly see that. That's why Nigerians underdevelop, how Nigerians underdevelop Nigerians, partly leadership failure. And yes, probably because we are now approaching almost 2 hours of a stream. We're going to carry on tomorrow. Yes, we will carry on exactly tomorrow, and I will still break down a few other things, a few other stuff for you. And I just want to seize that opportunity to thank all of you. Yes, if Ikem Mobodo. Yes, I had issues. I've been having these issues, but it seems some apps were sharing the microphone with me, which I've actually disabled all of them, that I don't want them to share that mic with me. Yes, 1 hour 49 minutes, almost 1 hour 50 minutes. The time in London is 1950. If Ikem Ubodo, Lorita, if Stella Emera, Patricia Ebitukemi, and Ibolaji, Babatunde Benson, all of you, Akoni, Omo, Ogunalakufo, all of you that you've joined me, I just want to seize that opportunity to thank you. Madam Esther Adeton Ewetuga JP, good evening. Good evening. You are just joining us a bit late. Congratulations, Madam Esther Adeton Ewetuga JP clocked 80, and she's having a jolly good time. Somewhere I just cannot mention at the moment, but she's having a good time. Congratulations, and you will celebrate more in good health, vitality, and with absolute peace of mind. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, guys, let's hook up tomorrow, and let's go into part 2 of this same topic: how Nigerians underdevelop Nigeria. Yes, we're going to go into it again tomorrow, because I'm not done yet. Where I am still going is a bit dangerous and treacherous. So let me thank each and every one of you for coming in to watch the live stream. Please like us, subscribe, follow us, share it to all your loved ones. It could be the same thing, what they've been hopefully wanting to hear, that will, you know, nourish their inner mind, and, you know, give them a little bit of respite as to how our journey started, where we came from, where we are, how did we get there, and then the way forward. Guys, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is 1952 in London. I've been streaming 1 hour and 52 minutes. Let's bring tonight's show to an end, and until tomorrow, I'll meet you at 6 o'clock again. We're gonna trash part 2. Until that time, please do take care of yourselves. Have a great week, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Until next time, I wish you God's blessings, love, peace of mind, and a wonderful week ahead. Thank you for watching the stream. Until tomorrow, God bless you. Good night.
NuMedia TV. Beyond the headlines. News in its purest form. If you have enjoyed this video or any of our podcasts or live streams, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe for more content like this. We make information simple. Your experience matters to us. Liberty Media Communications. Live stream with confidence. Fewness of words. Greatness of deeds. We empower people around the world to stand up for their social or ethical principles of freedom or entitlement. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video or live stream.